I know two couples who planned for retirement almost the exact same way. They saved diligently, they ran the numbers, they did almost everything right. But then the market took a dive. One couple thrived, and while the other, their plan nearly fell apart because of one singular decision. And here's what's wild: both couples thought they were making a smart move. Today, I want to show you what happened so you can avoid the same trap that they fell into and you can retire with clarity and confidence. Hi, I'm Jim Martin. I'm a financial planner and the founder of Martin Wealth Solutions. And for the last 15 years, it's been my honor to help hundreds of families transition into retirement. And I've seen something shocking and almost surprising in a lot of ways. It's not always the spreadsheets or the savings rates that separate a good retirement from a great one. It's the ability to stay calm and make the right decisions when things go sideways. And if I've learned one thing, things always go sideways. So let me tell you about Tom and Linda and Rick and Cheryl. So Tom and Linda, Rick and Cheryl, they're both in their early 60s. Both couples retired in 2022. Both are thoughtful, responsible, great people. They're detail-oriented planners. They weren't winging it. They had a plan. They worked with professionals. They were serious about getting this retirement thing right. They had mapped out all of the essentials when I met with them. They had income plans, tax strategies, investment allocations. And you know what? Everything looked great, at least on paper. But then came 2022. If you remember that, that was one of the worst market years in decades. Stocks dropped, bonds dropped, inflation surged. The economy, well, it felt really shaky. And now, for the first time in their adult lives, they were pulling money out of their portfolios, not just putting it in. And that's a big change. That switch, it just feels different. It gets real fast. It feels permanent and the stakes are higher. And it was in that moment where their paths began to separate. And let me be clear, both couples had done so much right. They had diversified portfolios, they had emergency funds, they had a bucket strategy for taking distributions in retirement. So they had a war chest, an intermediate or income bucket, and they had a bucket for long term growth. What I'm trying to say, this was not their first rodeo. They had lived through those market drops before. Y'all remember the dot-com crash or the 2008 recession or the COVID crash? They understood market cycles. They understood markets could go down and markets go up. But there's a big difference between understanding volatility in theory and watching your portfolio drop when you're retired and you're living on it. And when the markets dropped hard in 2022, emotions ran high. Rick and Cheryl, they got scared. I wasn't working with them at this point, but Rick told me when I sat down with them, look, we had worked for 35 years for this money, and I did not want to lose it all. So they moved almost everything to cash. They didn't have a clear plan to get back in, and that was the real issue. If you're going to move to cash, when are you getting back in? They didn't know the answer to that. They figured they'd wait until things calmed down, until it felt safe in the moment. But what they didn't realize is that one move would cost them dearly. Meanwhile, Tom and Linda, they picked up the phone. I remember this call. They called our office. And when we sat down, we revisited their plan. We put it up on the screen. We had a conversation. They were not panicking, but of course they were concerned. The market was down. We looked at their buckets, that short-term war chest, that intermediate bucket. And what we came to figure out was they had 5 years of withdrawals protected. That meant they didn't need to touch their growth bucket for at least 5 years, even if the market stayed depressed or stayed rocky. And what that gave them was peace of mind and ultimately permission to stay invested. Was it comfortable? No. No, it's never comfortable when the market goes down. But was it intentional? You bet. That one decision to stay the course versus go to cash had ripple effects. Meanwhile, Rick and Cheryl, they sat on the sidelines. When I met with them in 2024, they were still in cash. Tom and Linda, though, they were proactive. They made three key moves. They looked at tax loss harvesting. They sold a few of their investments that were temporarily down, realizing those losses, reducing their future tax bill. We looked at Roth conversions. With markets lower, they were able to convert discounted dollars into their Roth accounts, locking in the potential for future tax-free growth. We also looked at rebalancing. They didn't just stay the course, they leaned into it. By rebalancing, they added to their growth bucket while stocks were on sale theoretically. These weren't just guesses, they were moves built into their plan, not emotion, just execution. Meanwhile, Rick and Cheryl, they kept waiting. First for the market to bounce back up, then inflation to cool, then interest rates to settle, then for things to feel better. Here's the problem. There's always a reason to wait. There's always going to be that one thing that just holds you back. And here's the thing I've learned about the market. It doesn't send engraved invitations on when's the best time to invest. Oftentimes, the best days follow the worst days. And while they were in cash, they missed a huge chunk of that recovery. That single decision made out of fear cost them real money. And more importantly, cost them the potential to grow their wealth over time and their confidence. Here's what this story really teaches us. Retirement, it's more than just your money. It's about your mindset. It's about understanding that volatility, it's part of the deal. Volatility is a feature of the market, not a flaw. And having a plan in place to respond and not react will make a big difference because you will have those oh no moments. Markets are going to wobble, headlines are going to scream, and some expert on TV is going to get out there and say the sky is falling. But that's not the time to rewrite your entire plan. It's the time to follow it. Tom and Linda, smart people, but they didn't have any special insight. They didn't predict the market. They stuck to their plan, even when it's hard. And let me tell you what, sometimes it's hard to follow that plan. And that's what separates good outcomes from great ones, in my opinion. So here's what I want you to take away and remember from this video today. Don't make permanent decisions based upon temporary emotions relative to the market. Make sure you build your withdrawal strategy before you need it. Know how much money is safe and how long that will last. That'll give you confidence when the market's down. And have a system, not just a gut feeling, for rebalancing, tax moves, and portfolio decisions. That's very important. Look, you've worked really hard for where you're at. You don't want to leave your retirement at chance. You deserve a plan that gives you peace of mind, even in uncertain times. At my firm, Martin Wealth Solutions, we help families build plans that are built not just for the good times, because we love those, but also for the bad times. And if you're wondering how your plan's going to hold up in a downturn, or you just want a second set of eyes on your strategy, let's talk. Head over to martinwealth.com and learn more about what our firm does. Hey, and if this video helped you, please do me a favor, like and subscribe to it. It really helps us reach more people just like you trying to learn about retirement. Hey, thanks for watching. I'm Jim Martin, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.